back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I want to go straight to my next guest. I'm looking forward to this interview for quite some time. Jacquie Kubin. She's with a website called Communities Digital News, which you can learn more about at COMMDIGI News.com. By the way, starting this week, I will be having my column featured here as well, and I'm looking forward to that. And Jacquie, glad to have you on the program.
Thank you for inviting me, Kevin. I'm glad to be here, and welcome to all of your listeners.
Yeah, why don't you start with the elevator speech, if you will, for Community Digital News?
The elevator speech. I love that term that you use. Everybody's an overnight success, Kevin, and that means that we all work really, really hard to get where we're going. Back in 2009, I realized that I was not very happy with the way journalism was going online. I had been working as a journalist for about 15 years, having started in Chicago in marketing advertising, back when cut and paste meant using glue and pair of scissors, and was not very pleased with the way that I saw journalism going, the way that places, larger sites were trying to get writers to quote-unquote write for free. I found this to be a very difficult position to place the writers in because they still have to pay their mortgages, they still have to eat, and I thought it was rather disrespectful, but I didn't see how it was going to change much in the very near future. And at that point in time, I decided that I would attempt to create a platform for writers in which writers could participate fully and wholly. They could have a voice in the platform. Every writer would be equally promoted, equally presented, equally featured on the front page, because you never know what story is going to take off. It doesn't so much matter anymore whether it's a name or not a name as to whether a story will go viral. That hasn't changed in the last 6 years. And so we just started working on it. We started building at it. We started at the Washington Times, where we enjoyed a wonderful relationship with that publication. And then about a year ago, we moved to our own URL.
Okay, so you started with the Washington Times how long ago?
We left the Washington Times in January of 2014.
But you started with them
in January 2010.
Yeah, and Jacquie, you started with Washington Times when?
2010. January 2010 is when we.
Okay, so it's about a year, about 4 years rather. Very cool. Okay, and why? And they were interested in that same concept. I guess you could say almost a more egalitarian approach to promoting stories.
We were very independent of the Washington Times. We shared some real estate on the front page, which we pretty much controlled. But as far as promoting the stories that were featured, those decisions were made by us internally. The LLC has always been its own company.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked with the Washington Times under their banner. But we really had our own real estate. Our URL was communities.washingtontimes.com. So we were symbiotic.
Yeah. I love what you guys have done. It's very interesting, and I like the title is kind of different. Tell us a little bit about that title. So many of them try to have an authoritative or catchy, like your Daily Beast, type of approach. There's a certain retro meets modern sound to Communities Digital News. Talk a little bit about that.
Communities Digital News refers to the writers. We're very writer-centric. My first and only concern when I wake up in the morning and as I'm working during the day, as is my partners Jim Picht and Lisa Ruth, is how can we take and help the writers meet the goals. So the communities at Communities Digital News is our communities of writers. One of the things that I realized in 2009 is that there's an awful lot of people who no longer had staff positions or freelance positions where they were working with editors and other writers and having a robust and interesting career, not just a paying career. So one of the things that we tried to do, or that we have succeeded very well in doing, is getting together a group of people. We all have talk. All the editors' phone numbers are held by every single writer. They can call us anytime. There's an editor available from 7 in the morning till 1 in the morning every single day. If someone has a story idea, there's a breaking story, or they just need someone to talk to, because sometimes in the creative process you just need someone to discuss where you're going. For example, yesterday I have a writer who's up covering the Boston Marathon trial in Boston, in Massachusetts, and she was having some problems with how she wanted to present her idea because she couldn't really come up with a thesis. She couldn't figure out how to present what she wanted to say, which I'm not going to share because it's really a unique idea. And so we talked about it for a good 45 minutes and came up with a really strong storyline that covers the Boston Marathon, covers the process of jury selection and voir dire, but I think we'll have a different take on it than any of the mainstream media will come about from that process. So she's not working alone.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. So tell me about first of all, how many readers do you all have?
Readership varies, as it does with most publications.
No, I'm sorry. I meant how many writers do you have?
How many writers do we have? Writers vary. We have a core staff of about 60 writers that we can count on every single week, 1 to 3 times a week filing. In addition to that, we have another group of probably 60 to 70 writers who we hear from less regularly. They might file every other week. They might file it once a month. Our writers are, some of our writers are writers who file at least twice a month, have their own column, so that they can take and promote their column, their brand. Your column would be Price of Doing Business, or Price of Business at Communities Digital News, because we want to promote your brand, how you are doing things. The way that websites work and Google works and search works now, it's not just having a strong platform. That's really, really important. You need to be a Google News platform. You need to respond well in search engines. You need to have the appropriate social media that you are constantly pinging, and knowing what time of the day is that your readers are going to be on that social media so that you can ping them when they're there, not when it's convenient for you. But we also have to build the brand of the individual writers, whether it's on a radio show that they're doing, a podcast show that they're doing, if they're writing in other places, that there's a symbiotic linking back amongst all of the different platforms so that that brand, that individual page, that individual column is kind of its own website.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, what is your? Obviously, that's the reason why we got you on, was to talk about the website. What is the thing that you believe differentiates your site from others out there in a very saturated news environment?
The writer experience is what leads communities and which will ensure our success. The writers are the most important element that we have to communities. The respect that we have for the writers, the amount of care that we have for the writers, both professionally and personally. You know, we celebrate their births, and we mourn the deaths that they experience in their families. That is the most important thing to Communities Digital News, and it is the one thing. There's a lot of platforms out there, Kevin, that you can take your column to, and you'll put it on there, and they just go, hey, content, yay, and they go away. At Communities, we honor that column. And it sounds trite maybe, but really when I say we honor that column, it means we care about it, we appreciate it, we read that column, we social network that column. If we think that the column could have a paragraph written a little bit better or moved, we call the writer and say, hey, you know, we really think that this would read better if we did this. But at the end of the day, it's their column. It's their words. It's their writers. We do write to an AP style. We do push very strongly that writers are clear, concise, and accurate. People don't read long stories. Accuracy is very important, particularly in light of the news from Fox News and Paris saying they're going to sue Fox News. We need to be very, very accurate in what we're doing. That hasn't changed. The art of journalism has not changed. It's just how we do journalism has changed. And online we have these marvelous opportunities to have an expanded voice, to promote more voices than I could when I had print publications, to open the door to more people and invite more people in to write with us, and to allow people such as J-school students to work with a top editor.
Hey, Jackie, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to kind of wrap it up, but that's a very good overview of what it's all about, and I really do appreciate it. And I want to encourage the listener to check out Jacquie Kubin's work over there at Communities Digital News. That's COMMDIGI News.com. Thanks so much, Jacquie Kubin. Enjoyed the interview and enjoyed our time together. Do want to mention that the best content here can be found over there at the national news website, USAreview.com. While they're like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you spend it wisely right here on this station. Do want to mention, though, before we go, our good friends over at Standard Supply who brought you part of today's program.